1943, the world was at war. Nations raced to build the most powerful weapons ever imagined. But while most eyes focused on tanks, bombs, and ships, a quiet experiment was taking place in the Philadelphia Naval Yard, an experiment that would, according to legend, make an entire warship vanish from reality itself. Cut to archival World War II footage, ships being built, scientists working, Einstein writing formulas. This is the story of the Philadelphia experiment, a tale that still challenges the boundaries of science, secrecy, and sanity. In the early 1940s, radar had changed warfare forever. Whoever could hide from enemy radar would control the seas. The U.S. Navy dreamed of making ships invisible, not by camouflage, but by bending light and magnetic fields around them. Albert Einstein's unified field theory had recently captured scientific imagination. Though incomplete, it suggested that electromagnetic fields might manipulate gravity, or even space-time. To a desperate military, that idea sounded like a potential miracle. So began Project Rainbow, a classified experiment to test whether intense electromagnetic fields could make steel invisible to radar. In 1943, deep inside the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard, work began on a new destroyer escort, the USS Eldridge, DE-173. This vessel would become the heart of an experiment so secret that most of its crew had no idea what they were part of. Engineers mounted powerful generators and massive electrical coils along the deck. Thick cables snaked across bulkheads. According to witnesses, when the generators powered up, a greenish haze shimmered around the ship, like the air itself was vibrating. Some said the Navy called it degaussing, a standard method to protect ships from magnetic mines. Others whispered that this was far beyond ordinary technology. Einstein's theory suggested that light, magnetism, and gravity were interconnected. If these forces could be unified, perhaps space itself could be bent. A ship wrapped in such a field might refract radar waves, or vanish entirely. It was speculative, but the Navy's Office of Naval Research allowed limited funding. A group of physicists allegedly linked to Einstein's former assistants were consulted, their identities never fully confirmed. By late July 1943, the first small-scale tests were ready. Observers described flickering lights, intense magnetic pulses, and radio blackout around the dockyard. Nearby equipment malfunctioned. Compass needles spun wildly. Sailors felt disoriented, nauseous. Some claimed time itself seemed to blur, minutes felt like seconds. The Navy deemed it inconclusive, but safe enough to proceed. Then came the order for a full-scale test. Date, October 28, 1943. The USS Eldridge was about to become a legend. In the days leading up to the experiment, strange orders were issued. Dock workers were cleared from certain zones. Communications were restricted. Some sailors assigned to the Eldridge requested transfers, they sensed something was terribly wrong. A few claimed they were told they'd be testing new magnetic radar protection. But others overheard a different term, optical invisibility. Whatever the truth, none of them were prepared for what would happen next. Low hum of generators, fade to black. 9 o'clock hours. The USS Eldridge floated quietly in the Philadelphia Naval Yard. Dozens of scientists and naval officers watched from a safe distance. The crew on board took their stations. Engines were idle. Generators began to spin. A strange bluish glow surrounded the ship. Within minutes, witnesses described the air thickening, as though heat waves distorted reality. Then, one alleged eyewitness said, the ship simply vanished. Radar screens went blank. Observers claimed the vessel faded from sight entirely, leaving only ripples on the water. At the same time, 200 miles away in Norfolk, Virginia, a destroyer escort was reportedly seen appearing out of thin air. Locals swore it was the Eldridge. According to the story, after a few minutes, the ship flickered again, and reappeared in Philadelphia. No official logs confirmed this, but letters and testimonies years later would repeat the same chilling details. When the Eldridge returned, something was wrong. Crew members staggered, disoriented. Some vomited. A few were missing entirely. Worst of all, several men were said to be fused into the steel hull, their bodies embedded halfway through the metal. One sailor allegedly screamed, "Turn it off! Turn it off," before collapsing. The Navy quickly removed surviving crew and sealed the area. Witnesses were sworn to secrecy, some transferred, others discharged. Within hours, Project Rainbow was quietly shut down. Officially, the U.S. Navy denied everything. They claimed no experiment to make ships invisible ever took place. Declassified documents would later show only routine degaussing research. Yet rumors persisted. A merchant seaman named Carl Allen, also known as Carlos Allende, would later send letters to scientists, describing the event in vivid detail. His accounts matched the supposed timeline, names, and even technical references. How could he know? In the 1950s, Allen's letters reached Dr. Morris K. Jessup, a respected astrophysicist. Jessup initially dismissed them, until he received a copy of his own book, mailed anonymously, filled with handwritten notes about alien technology and the Philadelphia experiment. The notes referenced Einstein's unified field and secret military knowledge. Jessup tried to investigate, but in 1959 he was found dead in his car from carbon monoxide poisoning. Authorities ruled it suicide. To conspiracy theorists, it was proof of a cover-up. Decades later, supposed crewmen began to speak anonymously. One claimed he had jumped off the ship while it was phasing, and woke up months later in a different place. Another said he saw men, frozen in space, unable to move. No service records ever verified these individuals. But the consistency of their stories kept the mystery alive. Could electromagnetic fields really bend light, or time? Physicists argue that the power required would exceed anything the 1940s could generate. Yet, radar stealth and field manipulation research later became real science. Perhaps the experiment was a prototype, not for invisibility, but for electromagnetic camouflage, technology decades ahead of its time. Still, how do you explain the human effects, the teleportation accounts, and the Navy's silence? Fade out on the empty dockyard. After World War II, America entered the Cold War, a new era of secrecy. Dozens of military projects were classified under national security. Files about Project Rainbow vanished. The Eldridge itself was transferred to the Greek Navy and renamed the HS Leon, still in service decades later, its crew reporting nothing unusual. But by then, the Philadelphia experiment had already entered legend. In 1984, certain Navy papers on electromagnetic research surfaced, none referenced invisibility, but several involved field testing at the same shipyard in 1943. Coincidence, or sanitized history? Skeptics point out that no credible photos or logs exist of the vanishing. Believers counter that secrecy was total, and records could easily have been destroyed. Modern physicists say teleportation of a 1-200-ton warship would require manipulating spacetime itself, far beyond human technology. Yet quantum teleportation is now real, at a subatomic level. Could early researchers have stumbled upon principles they didn't understand? If you push the boundaries of science without fully knowing the consequences, the results can be catastrophic. Another possibility, some historians believe Project Rainbow was a psychological study, testing sailors' endurance under extreme electromagnetic exposure. High-frequency fields can induce hallucinations, nausea, and memory loss. What if the disappearance was a mass hallucination triggered by disorientation and electromagnetic stress? To the men who lived it, that might have felt indistinguishable from magic. In the 1970s and 1980s, the Philadelphia experiment inspired books, TV shows, and even Hollywood films. Each retelling blurred fact and fiction further. Some linked it to Project Montauk, a supposed continuation involving time travel experiments in New York. The myth evolved into a symbol of government secrecy, a story too incredible to be entirely false, and too dangerous to be proven true. So what really happened on October 28, 1943? Three possibilities remain. 1. A misunderstood degaussing test exaggerated by rumor. 2. a genuine secret experiment in electromagnetic stealth. 3. An accident that touched forces of physics we still can't explain. Whatever the truth, the Philadelphia experiment reminds us how thin the line can be between science and superstition, between curiosity and catastrophe. Today, the story endures in documentaries, podcasts, and internet theories. Visitors still travel to Philadelphia Naval Yard, hoping to find traces of the impossible. They see nothing unusual, just quiet waters, and the ghosts of a story that refuses to die. History is not only what happened, it's what people believe happened. And sometimes, those beliefs are powerful enough to bend reality itself. Whether myth, mistake, or miracle, the Philadelphia experiment remains one of the most haunting mysteries of American history. This is History Hidden Truths, uncovering the stories the world tried to forget.